complete. The moon bled across the sky, painting the forest red where Linda, the indigenous warrior, faced a giant wolf, her eyes blazing like embers. Suddenly, a swift shadow seized her. It was Jason, the vampire, but his eyes didn't gleam with bloodlust, but with a strange mix of fear and admiration. Did he save her or trap her in an even worse predicament? The wolf's roar echoed, mingled with Linda's silent scream, a harbinger of an unimaginable night of peril. What secrets did the forest hide beneath its menacing shadows? The forest whispered dark secrets. The trees seemed to be alive, their twisted branches like arms begging for help. The moon, a disk of blood in the night sky, bathed the scene in sinister light. Linda, the Native American with long black hair like the night, felt her heart pound in her chest, as strong as the roar of the enormous wolf that threatened her. Her eyes, usually so calm, shone with the ancestral strength awakening within her, a force from her ancestors, warriors, and protectors of the forest. She had fought bravely, using the agility and dexterity of a panther, but the wolf was relentless, its claws sharp and its teeth like knives. Just as the wolf was about to strike, something fast as lightning saved her. A dark figure, a swift blur, snatched her from the wolf's jaws. It was Jason, the vampire, but he wasn't the cruel monster Linda expected. His eyes, usually bright as rubies, were filled with confused emotion, a whirlwind of fear, admiration, and something that seemed like concern. Jason, his face pale as the moon, held her gently, his long, slender fingers almost hurting her. The wolf howled, furious, but retreated, watching them from afar with fiery eyes. Linda looked at Jason, confused. Did he save her? He, a vampire, the enemy of everything she represented? The answer came in a whisper, almost lost in the night wind. I couldn't let him hurt you, said Jason, his voice hoarse, laden with emotion. He seemed different, more human, more vulnerable. Linda was speechless, watching him with half-closed eyes, analyzing him, trying to understand the complexity of the feelings his rescue provoked in her. The moon bled, painting his face red, revealing the deep anguish he carried. Suddenly, a sharp sound ripped through the forest's silence, a cruel, hissing laugh. From the shadows emerged an imposing figure, a much more powerful vampire than Jason, with red eyes bright as infernal embers and a malicious smile that revealed pointed teeth. It was Malcor, Jason's master, the being who turned him into a vampire. Malcor watched Linda and Jason with a calculating gaze, his hand resting on an obsidian dagger, gleaming under the bloody moonlight. "My dear Jason," Malcor said, his voice smooth as a snake, "it seems you found a new toy. A Native American woman with the ancestral powers of the wolves. So interesting." His eyes fell on Linda, revealing the sadistic pleasure in his cruelty. The danger was imminent, palpable. Linda felt a wave of cold wash over her body. The wolf powers within her throbbed, calling for action, but fear held her captive. She had never faced a vampire before. Jason, still protecting her, tensed, his eyes meeting Malcor's in a silent struggle of power. Malcor took a step forward, approaching Linda and Jason. "You want her, Jason? Then you will have to show me how much she is worth. You know the consequences of disobeying my orders." He smiled, a cruel and menacing smile. The fight for survival was just beginning. The newly awakened love between Linda and Jason would have to face a mortal battle on a night filled with shadows, ancestral secrets, and the cruel strength of the vampire Malcor. The forest, a silent witness to the beginning of this conflict, seemed to hold its breath, anticipating what was to come. The search for love in the bloody battle was far from over. The very survival of Linda and Jason was at stake. With every breath, every heartbeat, every sound of the dark forest, and the moon bled, like a harbinger of the bloodshed that was approaching. Malcor's obsidian dagger gleamed, reflecting the sinister light of the bloody moon. He was not just a powerful vampire, he was the personification of darkness, fear, and Jason's absolute master. The tension was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Linda, feeling the ancestral energy of the wolves within her pulsing strongly, clenched her fists. She had never felt such deep fear, but beside Jason, a spark of hope, a new kind of courage, filled her. Jason's gaze, now more determined, met hers, and an eloquent silence passed between them, laden with promises and dangers. Malcor, noticing the silent connection growing between them, laughed, a laugh that echoed through the forest, making the trees tremble. He was a master of manipulation, and he knew he could use Jason's loyalty against him. "I know what you feel, Jason," Malcor hissed, slowly approaching Linda. "The weakness of compassion. But this weakness will destroy you. She is not for you. She is a threat. Her power is a danger." Linda felt a shock run down her spine. Malcor was right. She was different, strong. Feeling the power of her ancestors scared her, made her insecure, as she didn't know how to control it. She felt the raw strength of the wolves, the wild ferocity that inhabited her blood. But this strength also frightened her. Would she be able to control it? Would she be able to protect herself and protect Jason? Jason, realizing Linda's fear and Malcor's manipulation, tried to intervene. "She's not a threat, Malcor," he said, his voice firm despite the tremor that could be perceived in his voice. She's special." The words came out with difficulty, as if he were fighting against a force much greater than himself, a struggle between his loyalty to Malcor and the love that was budding for Linda. Malcor smiled cruelly. "Special? Then prove it. Prove that she is worth more than your obedience to me. Defeat her, Jason. Prove that your love for her is not stronger than your fear." Malcor cast a defiant look at Jason, making it clear that he was challenging him, testing him. It was a trap, Malcor's opportunity to get rid of a potential problem, and at the same time, test Jason's strength and obedience. The forest seemed to suffocate, the darkness becoming more menacing. Linda felt Malcor's cold gaze upon her, the weight of the obsidian dagger, the relentless pressure of the threat. The pressure on Jason was even greater. He would have to fight against the love that was blossoming in his heart, or against the master who gave him immortality, but also condemned him to a dark existence. Suddenly, a wolf howled, and other wolves approached from the shadows, their eyes glowing like incandescent embers. It was the response of the wolves' ancestral spirit, warning Linda. Malcor, surprised by the arrival of Linda's allies, widened his eyes. He hadn't expected this turn of events. The battle, which seemed about to begin between Linda and Jason, now took on a new dimension. It was wild nature against vampire darkness. Would Jason and Linda's love be able to survive this new and deadly war? The answer was wrapped in the labyrinth of shadowy trees in the darkness of the forest. The moon bled, a silent witness to the next fight, with new and unexpected allies. The fate of Linda and Jason was about to be sealed in a bloody and unpredictable battle. The forest whispered, a menacing whisper that echoed in Linda's heart. The air was heavy, laden with tension. With every breath, every beat of her heart, Malcor's threat became more palpable. The vampire, with his cruel smile and eyes red as embers, was the personification of darkness, the shadow that stretched over the newly awakened love between her and Jason. Malcor, with the obsidian dagger gleaming sinisterly in his hand, cast a penetrating look at Jason, a look that challenged him, interrogated him, tested him. "Prove your worth, Jason," Malcor hissed, his voice like the scraping of claws on stone. "Prove that this Indian woman is nothing more than another insignificant prey. Kill her." Malcor's order fell like lightning on Jason's head. He loved Linda. The feeling was new, frightening, overwhelming, a whirlwind of emotions he had never felt before. But obedience to Malcor was rooted in his soul, in the very essence of his existence as a vampire. The struggle was internal, a battle between love and obedience, between light and darkness. His fingers trembled. His own vampire strength seemed to fight against himself. He looked at Linda, his eyes meeting hers, conveying a silent plea for forgiveness, a plea for understanding. Linda, sensing Jason's internal conflict, felt a pang in her heart. She didn't know him very well, but she saw the struggle in his eyes, a torment of unexpected, almost forbidden love. The ancestral strength of the wolves within her pulsed, preparing for battle. She wasn't weak. She wasn't naive. She had faced many dangers in the forest, but this was different. This danger was in the heart of her beloved. Before Jason could make any decision, something unexpected happened. A howl, deep and thunderous, ripped through the night's silence. It wasn't the howl of the giant wolf that had attacked her before. This was different, older, laden with an ancestral force, a supernatural force. From the darkness of the forest, several giant wolves emerged, their eyes shining with a supernatural light. They weren't just animals, they were guardians, protectors. They were Linda's ancestors, answering the silent call of her indigenous heritage. Malcor, surprised by the sudden appearance of the wolves, was visibly disturbed. He hadn't expected this unexpected alliance, this demonstration of ancestral power. Jason, watching everything with astonishment, realized that Linda wasn't just a Native American woman, she was a powerful warrior, a descendant of a legendary lineage. The wolves surrounded Malcor, their sharp claws and teeth gleaming menacingly. The fight was about to begin. Jason, in an act of rebellion, a decision to follow his heart, dropped his weapon. He wouldn't fight against Linda. He wouldn't fight against her ancestors. He would fight alongside her. He could no longer submit to Malcor's control. The weight of his loyalty to his master had broken with the intensity of his unexpected love for Linda. The battle began with a bang. The wolves attacked Malcor ferociously, their teeth tearing his skin and their claws piercing his flesh. Malcor, powerful as he was, did not expect such resistance. His immortal skin, until then untouched, bled. The fight was desperate, a deadly dance between the supernatural strength of the ancestral wolves and Malcor's vampire strength. Linda, with eyes shining with an ancestral power flowing through her veins, joined the fight. She didn't fight with claws and teeth, but with the ancestral energy of the wolves, with a power that transcended the physical, an energy that filled the entire forest. It was the force of nature, untamed, relentless against Malcor's darkness. Jason, despite being a vampire, didn't directly join the physical fight, but acted as a shield, protecting Linda from Malcor's most dangerous attacks. His immortality gave him an advantage, but his heart beat strongly for Linda, for this woman who had awakened in him a feeling he had never imagined he could experience. Together, Linda and Jason formed an unlikely but unshakable alliance against Malcor's insane power. The moon bled, a silent witness to a love born in the midst of battle, a love capable of defying darkness itself. The forest, a stage for ancestral forces, awaited the final outcome of this epic struggle. A struggle that would decide not only the fate of Linda and Jason, but the future of that entire region haunted by Malcor's power. The climax was just beginning, and the destinies of Linda and Jason intertwined forever. The battle between the ancestral wolves and Malcor was furious. Claws tore, teeth pierced, and the air echoed with wild growls and cries of pain. Linda, channeling the ancestral strength of the wolves, unleashed bursts of energy that struck Malcor with the force of thunder. Jason, despite not directly participating in the physical fight, used his supernatural speed and agility to deflect Malcor's most dangerous blows, protecting Linda from a deadly attack. Malcor, wounded and furious, roared with rage, his immortal skin bleeding, a clear sign that his supernatural strength was being tested to the limit. He was a being of darkness, accustomed to absolute power, and Linda's resistance and Jason's help were driving him out of control. Suddenly, with a cry of rage, Malcor grabbed Linda with immense force. His red eyes gleamed with fury. "I'm going to finish you off and that ridiculous little protector of yours," he hissed, squeezing her tightly. Linda felt the pressure on her chest, the lack of air, the imminent danger. Jason, desperate, tried to free her, but Malcor's power was superior. Just as Malcor was about to sink his fangs into Linda, a deafening roar shook the forest. The earth trembled, the trees swayed violently. An intense, blinding light appeared in the sky. A colossal being, a gigantic and ghostly figure, materialized in the midst of the battle. The figure was composed of such potent energy that even the ancestral wolves recoiled in reverence. A deathly silence fell over the forest. Everyone looked at the figure, perplexed, terrified, as Malcor's threat became insignificant in the face of this new and unknown force. This giant figure, which seemed to absorb all the energy of the bloody moon, opened its mouth, and a deep, echoing voice filled the forest. It was an ancient voice, so ancient that it seemed to originate from time itself. "The battle for Jason's soul is decided," the voice said, "but the conflict between light and darkness is only just beginning." The figure then cast a look at Jason, its gaze conveying something that seemed like destiny. Then, the figure pointed to Linda and to Jason. The figure dissipated in a flash of light, leaving everyone silent, in shock. Malcor, wounded and defeated, lay on the ground, defeated not only by the wolves, but by this supernatural and unknown force. He barely had the strength to move, to breathe. The mystery of the giant figure, the intensity of its power, The meaning of its words remained unanswered, casting a shadow of doubt over the very victory achieved. And in the midst of all that confusion, Linda and Jason looked at each other, both their faces marked by tension, but a look of hope blossomed between them, even in the face of the new and imminent threat that loomed over them. The moon, which had bled all night, now seemed to contemplate the forest in silence, making it clear that the battle for Jason and Linda's love was far from over. What did the arrival of this mysterious and powerful force mean? Who or what was this entity? And what did it want with Jason and Linda?